Hi everybody and welcome to Book Speak. I'm April and welcome to my first video on this channel. Before I get started with this review, and it's a pretty good review of a pretty good book, I just want to say that most of the books I talk about on here are audiobooks on Audible, but you can find them on Kindle. And I know that you can order paperbacks on Amazon. I don't know if some of them that I talk about will actually be in bookstores, maybe. I'm not sure. A lot of the really well-known ones will be available in bookstores, but that being said, you should be able to find it in any medium you choose. I just like Audible audiobooks because I have low vision and it's more convenient and more economical for me. That being said, we'll also be talking about the authors, the narrators, since they are audiobooks, and I hope you have a good time and maybe you'll find a good read. The first book I want to talk about is actually a series of 6, and since it's that large of a series, I'm not going to talk about each book individually in their own videos. I'm going to combine all 6 books into this one review, and just give kind of a short synopsis of all of them. And I do have my notes, and since they are audiobooks, they will come with like their length. I'll tell you their length and what year they were released on Audible. This author I actually found by accident, and I will probably be talking about a lot of his books because finding him by accident, I was looking for paranormal horror, and what I was looking for was actually like haunted house, spooky haunted houses, and that's kind of what I got with him, but I think I actually found something much better with this author. And his name is Ron Ripley, and he is a Scare Street author, which is also through Amazon. Is where you will find a lot of his books. He's also listed on Goodreads if you want to go there and check out some more reviews. But this series by him that I'm going to talk about is the Moving In series, and there are 6 books. Now, the first book is actually called Moving In, and it was released in 2019 on Audible, which all 6 of these books were released in 2019 on Audible. Now, as far as when he actually wrote and released, like the paperbacks or the Kindle Unlimited, I'm not sure. But these were released in 2019. And let me check my notes. The runtime on it for the audiobook is 5 hours and 43 minutes. But the Moving In series is 6 books, and they're all narrated by Tom Bowers. And I will just tell you right now that Tom Bowers is one of my favorite narrators. He really knows how to bring the characters to life. He brings out their personality. And he is one of those narrators that could sit and read the encyclopedia to me, or the newspaper, or anything. And I would sit and listen. He is just really excellent. And Ron Ripley uses him, I think, for all of his books that I've listened to. There might be a couple, just because Tom Bowers is with Scare Street also, and the whole collection of authors, and He narrates a lot of their stuff. But he's really, really good. That being said, Moving In, the first book, it's about Brian Roy and his wife, Jenny. And they move to a little farmhouse from the city because Brian has had a heart attack and he's moving to the country to get away from the stress. The fact that they move into this farmhouse, though, a lot of strange things start to happen. And they discover this horrible history. And there is a child ghost there named Paul, who was the grandson of the man who owned this old farmhouse. Paul is not a very nice ghost. He enjoys hurting people and killing people. So Brian and Jenny are having to deal with this, and at first they can't believe what's going on. I mean, Paul's not the only ghost. He's just, let's say, the bad guy in the story at this point. And they know nothing about dealing with ghosts. So Jenny has this friend, and I can't remember her name right off, but she is kind of like a psychic. She can sense ghosts, or, but she has another friend called Leonidas, but everybody calls him Leo. And Leo knows how to deal with ghosts. He learned in his childhood on how to deal with these ghosts. And Leo is a character, the way he is portrayed, I would say he was like someone who is probably on the autistic spectrum. He doesn't really, his social skills are not what we would expect. But he knows a lot about ghosts, and he comes out to help Brian and Jenny get rid of Paul. But Leo has secrets of his own, and he is actually, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but the ghost of his grandmother plays a part in this first book as well. And but Ron Ripley puts a whole new twist on the haunted house dealing with ghosts kind of thing. In his books, the ghosts are really part of the story, and they are really characters of their own. They're not just, shutting doors and doing spooky things. They are characters. And that's why I think that I really started to like his books, is because you get to know these ghosts in a way, and you want to know their backstory. How did they become ghosts? Why are they still here? And why are their personalities the way they are? That kind of thing. We go to book 2, which is called Dune Walkers. And by this point, Brian has somewhat become a ghost hunter of sorts. He has started this group called the Leonidas Group. And they have a website, and they try to help people with their ghost problems. And in Dune Walkers, a man named William, who just got out of the military, goes to stay at this little cottage on the beach that's owned by a friend of his parents. And his friend had actually got killed overseas in the war, so they invited William to come and stay with them. Now this, excuse me, this book for me And this series really goes in a little off direction for me. I like it. I really do like it because it's really well written. But like all of Ron Ripley's books, it's a little out there and it will take you by surprise. But when William is in this cottage, he encounters a ghost named Catherine, and there are other ghosts in it as well. And then he finds out that there's this murderous group of Native Americans. Their ghosts are also in the sand dunes, and if he goes outside, these ghosts will try to kill him, and Catherine don't want him to leave the cottage. And while Brian is there trying to help him, Paul shows back up, and Paul is dead set. He's going to kill Brian. He wants to kill Brian. He's just got it out for him. And Brian tells Jenny and some other people come in, and they need to learn how to take care of Paul for once and for all. And then Leah's grandmother her ghost comes back as well and causes trouble. It's just a really hard time. It's a really hard time for everybody in Dunewalkers. But it's got a twist at the end that you are definitely not expecting. And that's kind of what makes it so good. And then you get into book 3, which is Middlebury Sanatorium. So now Brian is hired by this real estate company because they're wanting to develop this old sanatorium, but they've heard rumors of ghosts and stuff, and they want him to actually just come in and sign off saying, no, there's no ghost there, but he won't do that. So he goes there to stay, and he meets Ken, who is the watchman, or the night watchman. He is a guard at this sanatorium. And this sanatorium is abandoned. There's no living people there now except for the guards. And Ken is the only guard that is there at night. All the rest of them, they are in the perimeter, but they don't come on the grounds. So when Brian comes in this particular book, there's another twist at the end of it too as well. Ron Ripley is really good for that. There's you think it's going to go in one direction, but it totally flips at the end. Brian ends up having to battle this dead king, is what he considers himself. He actually controls a lot of the spirits in this sanatorium, and they all seem to be afraid of him because he's, so powerful and this and that and the other. But so mayhem ensues, of course. And like I said, then there's a twist at the end of that. After Middlebury, then you have the First Church. Now, the First Church is where we're going to meet one of my favorite Ron Ripley characters. Well, we're not going to meet him. There is a specific order to reading all of Ron Ripley's books. But right now, we're just going to stick with this series. But this is where we're going to meet one of my favorite characters that he has written. And I actually read the series with this particular character in it before I read the Moving In series, and then I found out the reading list, that the way you're supposed to read them, and I will make a video on that once we get through all these. because I'm kind of working on this universe for this particular character of trying to get all the books in order to follow a timeline with him. But we're going to meet Shane Ryan. He comes in to help Brian with this because Brian is called in to this town because so far there has been 2 boys that have been blinded by these Japanese ghosts. And there is a living human character that has gotten these ghosts, and he has put them in the church, and so anybody that comes in contact with these ghosts kill them or maim them, or they do very bad things. There's not a whole lot of ghosts in these stories that are nice people, but they're not all bad either. And by the time you get done reading Ron Ripley, you will understand the saying that ghosts can't hurt you is your first mistake in these books. But Shane comes to help Brian with these ghosts, and Brian also has 2 locals that are helping him. One is named Jim, and one is what is his name? One is named Jim, and then his grandfather Luke, who is a Vietnam veteran, and he is also blind. They help him defeat these ghosts. And these ghosts actually, they injure the 2 boys. They kill the preacher, they kill a policeman, they've done all kinds of things. Then we move on to book 5. Now, in book 4, it's so hard on Brian and everything that he has decided by the time book 5 comes, because of his health, he's out of the ghost business. He's not going to do it anymore. He wants to take a nice, quiet job. So, in book 5, we have the Pauper's Crypt. And Brian takes a job as a caretaker at a cemetery. And we're all thinking, well, what could go wrong there? Well, for someone who can see ghosts and deal with ghosts a lot. But Brian thinks he's got this nice, quiet job until one day, him and a man who was there visiting his wife's grave discover that because of this fog, all of these ghosts are coming up out of the ground and trying to capture them. So they end up running into the Pauper's Crypt, not knowing that it is a gateway into this horrible realm where they could be trapped for days, weeks, or years while time outside kind of stands still. So, like, they could be in there for what seems like to them 100 years. Or, no, I have that backwards. What seems like to them just for a couple of hours or a day, but to the outside world, it could be weeks and years. And while they're in there, they do meet a man who has been in there for 40 years. And he got stuck in there in the 1970s. But now Jenny calls the cemetery and can't get a hold of him. And then when she goes to find out what's going on, she meets this little ghost girl who tells her what's going on. There is a spirit there who traps souls and controls them. And he's been there for a long time, and that's what the fog is him. He sends the fog out so that he can trap whoever's in there. And when Jenny finds this out, well, she makes a phone call and calls Shane to come and help her. So Shane comes and helps her, And with the help of Shane and Leo and Leo's girlfriend, they get Brian out for now. And they go home and they think everything's over and this kind of thing. But it turns out it's not over, because what did I tell you about Ron Ripley's books? There's a twist. There's always a twist. So the evil spirit that was there, he ends up figuring out how to get out of the cemetery, and he is dead set against getting Brian and Jenny. At this point, he really wants Jenny, though. So he figures out his way to come and get him, and that can't really go into any more detail other than that, because, like I said, I don't want to give away spoilers to these books, because that just ruins the books. Now, after Pauper's Crypt, you have the final book in this series. But Brian will show up again in other series written by Ron Ripley. And the last one in this series is the Academy. And in this one, Brian is called in by his cousin, who is like the dean of this academy. Some seniors had played a prank for senior prank, and it caused a disturbance, and it caused the original founder of this academy, it caused his ghost to be released, and he is not a very nice person, and he wants to be alive again. And he has his little underlings that he brings back with him to try to help him regain his life. But Brian's cousin doesn't believe in ghosts. He doesn't want to believe in ghosts. Him and Brian have not talked for a while. But once he realizes that there's too many things that are going on that he can't deny that it's paranormal. So he has to call Brian. And Brian comes to help him. And there again, chaos ensues. And ghosts kill people. But... and then you've got Ron Ripley's twist again. It's a really interesting series. Especially if you kind of read them in order. But all of Ron Ripley's series, they all intertwine. They're all kind of standalone series, but they all kind of intertwine too, unless you focus on one specific character. Like I was saying, like with Shane Ryan, I mean, he makes an appearance in just about all the series. And that's why I want to do kind of a Shane Ryan universe video, so that we can take all the books and read them all in the order of Shane's timeline. But I would highly recommend these books. I mean, they're not what you would call scary. I mean, I guess they could be. Everybody's got their different levels. The ideal and the imagery of them are. And kind of like, if you like Stephen King, you would enjoy these books, because in the Stephen King universe, anything goes, and the same thing in here. Ron Ripley holds no punches. They are violent, they are gory. Other than that, though, I mean, there's no sexual content, there's no anything like that. But if you like this video, and thanks for being here for my first one on this channel, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more book reviews. And if you subscribe, make sure you hit the little bell notification, and that way you'll get all the notifications. Also remember that I am on Goodreads. I am on Facebook. The links are in the description below. And leave a comment. Let me know if you've read these books, what you think of them. Let me know of any that you would like me to review, because I am open, for any kind of book. And I will see you all in the comments.